Next to the bad, most Americans can't go the whole day without swearing. You son of a...
TV!
Oh, hi, Ben. A study by 9 Round Kickbox Fitness shows that average American utters their first curse word by 10:54 a.m. Way earlier than
I utter it right when the alarm clock goes off.
Yeah.
Finally, the ugly. A bear in search of a snack gets trapped inside a car. Cops in Colorado say it was honking the horn before they let it out.
Oh my God.
The inside of the car completely destroyed, just like the same story from yesterday almost. Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Have a good day.
See you later.
I will be meeting with Kim Jong-un in the coming weeks. It would be a tremendous thing for North Korea and a tremendous thing for the world.
He is bringing North Korea closer to behaving like a real country than anyone in our lifetime.
The Department of Homeland Security is raising the alarm yet again on California and other states' sanctuary policies.
142 gang members that ICE was trying to deport were instead released back into communities.
There's been nobody tougher on Russia than President Donald Trump. If we got along with other nations, that's good, not bad.
The city of Houston, Texas, celebrating the life of former First Lady Barbara Bush, lighting up City Hall there on the right in her favorite color ahead of tomorrow's public memorial.
A big surprise for a mom on Long Island, U.S. and Eric Benzing, surprising his mother, Regina.
I'm just really proud of him.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody, live from New York City on this Thursday morning. Come on up, camera guy. Get the picture over here. We're at the curvy couch. And as we saw from the last segment during Fox and Friends First, let's see if we can make it to 10:59 without cussing.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be interesting.
We have 3 hours on TV. Will today be the day?
Just a quick reference to Stormy. Stormy Warren of The Highway interviewed Kane Brown, who was the opening song for this show, the Thursday edition of Fox and Friends.
I thought you were going to go when you said the word
That's
stormy.
that's what I think of Stormy.
Okay.
Ainsley thought you were going to be talking about
the weather.
Storm Field, who's the weatherman here in New York City, because it's a terrible rainy day.
That's so funny. He's the meteorologist, and his name is Storm.
I know.
When I was working in another local news, I think it was in Charleston, there was a guy who was, I think he was our sports guy. He was also a radio guy. His name was Adam, but he spelled it A-T-O-M.
Atomic.
Really?
Yes.
There you go.
If you're out there, call us. Tell us why.
All right.
Send us crazy names.
Right.
Everyone has a story.
Friends at FoxNews.com, Twitter, or Facebook. Meanwhile, the President of the United States, he's down at his Mar-a-Lago resort along with the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, and during a joint availability yesterday in Mar-a-Lago's fancy ballroom, the President was talking a little bit about, it sounds like there's going to be a summit with Kim Jong-un at the end of May or early June. And while Mr. Kim has been described during his meeting with Mike Pompeo as personable and well-prepared, the President said yesterday, if the meeting goes south and it's not fruitful, he's going to go to the exit.
I will be meeting with Kim Jong-un in the coming weeks to discuss the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Hopefully that meeting will be a great success, and we're looking forward to it. It would be a tremendous thing for North Korea and a tremendous thing for the world. We've never been in a position like this with that regime. If I think that it's a meeting that is not going to be fruitful, we're not going to go. If the meeting, when I'm there, is not fruitful, I will respectfully leave the meeting.
I think it's pretty amazing that the CIA director, who's going to be the Secretary of State, if Congress doesn't embarrass itself, Mike Pompeo goes over there and has a one-on-one and walked out. Now, if he felt as though he wasn't serious, he wasn't prepared, he wasn't ready, or he wasn't sincere, he would have come back and just said, Mr. President, don't embarrass yourself in the country. We're not doing it. So we saw enough there. And by the way, he can keep a secret. Pretty clear. Yeah. Pretty clear he can keep a secret. He went through his confirmation hearings, even though he spent his Easter in North Korea. Nobody knew it. He didn't let on to it.
Nobody asked.
And you've asked many times if if the president is going to ask Kim Jong-un to free these Americans that are there. He said he's definitely going to be putting pressure on him to denuclearize, I can't say it, and denuclearize, yes, take out the nuclear weapons. And he's also going to ask to free these 3 Americans that are held in North Korea. Now, Shinzo Abe, he said Japanese citizens have also been abducted. And this president, our president, said he's going to put pressure on Kim Jong-un to also release those individuals. Get this, North Korea said they abducted 13 Japanese citizens. Japan saying no, it was more than that. There were 17. They abducted them to train their agents to speak Japanese so they could go spy.
Back in the 1970s and the 1980s. The president said he's actually negotiating to release them, but there was a question about, hey, so Mike Pompeo goes over there and he doesn't get anything, he doesn't get them in return as a good faith effort, and the president answered, look, I'm working on it. Mike Huckabee says, look, the fact that this president is bringing North Korea closer, this is historic.
He's a guy, when he plays cards, never really gives his cards away. So what he's really doing is saying, okay, Pompeo came, we had a great visit, things went well, the setup is there. But he wants to make it very clear he has some expectations. Now, will his expectations be met? Probably not. Not completely. But it's historic in that he is bringing North Korea closer to behaving like a real country than anyone in our lifetime has been able to do, and that really is progress.
It is, and you know, it's just amazing too. Most people who aren't just blind with partisanship are saluting the president's tactics to this point that brought us to this point. While the president is smart enough to say, I'm going to raise expectations. We can't even pick a spot right now to have the June, which seems to be a June summit. Also in the backdrop, they're also talking about North Korea, South Korea armistice. Ending the Korean War, which, you know, the conflict ended in '53, but we never signed anything. So South and North Korea could be making an historic announcement in May.
Right. Meanwhile, our president, who is there in Florida, is going to head down to Key West, to the Key West Anti-Smuggling Center, and California's Governor, Jerry Brown, he is now saying he will deploy those 400 National Guard troops, but there are conditions. There are strict terms.
That's right. Keep in mind, the president ordered up to 4,000 National Guard troops on our southern border to help with immigration. But Jerry Brown made it very clear. I'll put them all over the state, but they're not going to help with immigration. Part of his order reads this: California NG service members shall not engage in any direct law enforcement role nor enforce immigration laws, arrest people for immigration law violations, guard people taken into custody for alleged immigration violations, or support immigration law enforcement activities. It is so specific, it gets down to these people will not be able to gas up the trucks if the trucks are going to be used for immigration. It is that
or build the wall.
Right. So the liberal governor does not have the voice of the people in his head when he's making these rules. They did a recent survey, this Haas Institute, and they said, you know, what do you think about the illegals and bolstering the border? 60% are for what the president's doing, but this governor is not. So he is beginning to lose counties, he's beginning to lose towns and cities, and he has lost the majority of the California people.
It's baffling that that guy right there, the governor, is defending illegal criminals and not allowing ICE to work with them and arrest them if they're criminals and they're here illegally. Why should all of this matter to you? Well, the numbers are really staggering. The Department of Homeland Security has released the gang members that were shielded from deportation because of sanctuary policies. Keep in mind, gang members, MS-13, Brian went out to Long Island to do that story with those families that were there with the president when he gave the State of the Union address. Yeah. This gang is known for gruesome crimes. The parents of those girls could not even recognize their daughter's body.
So let's take a look at this state by state, and we'll see how many. By the way, California, congratulations. You lead on this one, too. 89.
Two-thirds of the total number were released from California. And then Maryland, I know the numbers are a little small to see. Maryland, 13. Texas, which is one of the, you know, crackdowniest states, they had 11. But then keep in mind, in Travis County, the sheriff there, Sally Hernandez, has made it very clear she does not cooperate with ICE. That's why it's 11 in Texas, 11 in Washington, and 11 in Maryland.
And by the way, a lot of them came during that so-called unaccompanied minor surge at the border, where everyone with their big hearts and open arms said, you got to come. They desperate nowhere to turn. A lot of them were pretending, and a lot of them came in here and started with their gang activity. So you have to watch.
So when they were released, rather than going directly to the federal government, they just opened the door and they vanish.
You just hear these stories of what's happening in Syria to these families, what's happening in North Korea. We just want to keep our country safe.
Right. And
it's not that we don't have a heart.
It seems like it's easy to do, but those are the numbers, folks.
Well, speaking of opening the door, Ainsley, when she wanted to leave this morning, opened up her front door. Now you have to read to Adam Housley.
When you opened yours, it was on camera.
Yes.
He has the Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
All right, here's a live look in Houston. The city is celebrating the life of former First Lady Barbara Bush. Look at that, lighting up City Hall in her favorite color ahead of tomorrow's public memorial.
This is, we learned, the First Lady Melania Trump and other first families will attend the former First Lady's funeral Saturday.
Adam Housley is live outside the funeral home in Houston. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, we expect to get that official guest list here this morning, but there are some names coming out. You mentioned the Melania Trump will be here. We know there'll be a lot of others. In fact, we've heard some rumors about people that know the Bushes very well, of course, planning to attend. The plan is in place, for that matter, here in Houston. Right now, the former First Lady is at the funeral home behind me. Tomorrow, she'll lie in repose at the church here. And there are all sorts of memorials taking place around the area tonight. There will actually be a candlelight vigil as well. You showed City Hall. Let's show the pictures there of the flowers at City Hall that have been gathering and been dropped off by so many people that love the First Lady here in this part of the country, and for that matter, across the country as well. A park here named after her, we're told, is going to be redone. There's been some flowers arriving there as well. We're also getting more great comments coming from not only those people that knew her, but those that were very close to her, like her husband, Bush 41, who put out another statement yesterday that just kind of gives you more insight into the incredible woman she was and also how close the family is. His statement from Bush 41 says, quote, "I always knew Barbara was the most beloved woman in the world. And in fact, I used to tease her that I had a complex about that fact. But the truth is, the outpouring of love and friendship being directed at the enforcer, as she was known in the family, is lifting us all up. We have faith she's in heaven, and we know life will go on as she would have it. So cross the Bushes off your worry list." We're also hearing more from Bush 43 about his mother. Take a listen to this.
The day before she died, I said, "Mom, I just want you to know you've been a fabulous mother, and I love you dearly." And she said, "I want you to know that you're my favorite son on the phone."
Mrs. Bush will lie in repose tomorrow at St. Martin's Episcopal Church just down the street from here. We drove by there this morning, guys. A stunning location, beautifully lit up, and tomorrow that's where she'll lie in repose here for those who want to come pay their respects.
A wonderful person, remembered by so many. All right, Adam, thank you very much. Live report from Houston.
She lived a long and rich life.
She did. Beautiful family.
Hey, does anyone know where Jillian is?
She's right next to you.
Oh.
And she's wondering if the president golfed yesterday.
Well, we don't know. More on that later.
Good morning to you guys. Let's get you caught up on some of your headlines right now, starting with this. Just one day after that nightmare explosion on a Southwest plane, the engine of a Delta jet catches fire. Check it out. Thick black smoke coming out from under the wing, forcing the plane heading from Atlanta to London to turn back.
Issue with the engine on the right-hand side. Apparently there's some smoke coming from it.
Firefighters spraying the plane down with foam on the tarmac. Thankfully, no one was hurt and passengers were put on another flight. The cause of the fire is now under investigation. Police are looking into the suspicious death of H.R. McMaster Sr., the father of former National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster. The 84-year-old died last week after falling at a retirement community in Pennsylvania. Investigators believe McMaster may not have received proper care after that fall. Now, there are also reports records surrounding McMaster's death were falsified. Let's look at your headlines.
That's a terrible story.
Yeah.
Got to look into that.
All right, Jillian, thanks.
Meanwhile, ignore all the bad news about illegals. Just ask California Governor Jerry Brown.
I think Fox News exploits this issue. We have criminals that do horrible things all the time.
So Fox News is exploiting the issue? Well, apparently the governor has not spoken to Jamil Shaw, his son murdered by an illegal immigrant in California. He will join us live with a message for the governor shortly.
And Eric Holder just dropped another hint about his intentions for 2020.
We will not repeat the mistakes of previous administrations. Our campaign of maximum pressure will continue until North Korea denuclearizes. Mike Pompeo, will go down as one of the great Secretary of States. And by the way, he just left North Korea, had a great meeting with Kim Jong-un.
Stunning news confirmed by the president. He was quite pleased following Mike Pompeo's meeting with Kim Jong-un over Easter to lay out the groundwork ahead of next month's high-stakes summit and to see if North Korea was indeed sincere. Christian Witten has served as the deputy special envoy for North Korean human rights, as if they do give human rights, in the Bush administration, and joins us now to weigh in. Christian, what changed to bring us to this point?
What changed, something I saw firsthand at the Trump State Department, was a year of U.S.-led pressure, economic pressure, diplomatic pressure, and military pressure that convinced Kim that not only the U.S. but our allies were very serious about putting pressure on him, about taking away his support or his sources of foreign money, and that really is what brought him to the table, I think.
So what do you think what would be the fundamentals to make this summit go forward? We say they have to denuclearize or we get up and leave. Do we put that on the table early? Do we work towards it? Is this an incremental thing?
I think so, and that's what's the difference between this round of negotiations and two previous times. You know, the Clinton administration and the Bush administration both tried to buy off North Korea for its nuclear arsenal, its nuclear aspirations, both times desperate to get to a deal, diplomats in search of Nobel Prizes. And the complete difference this time around is Donald Trump, who knows how to negotiate and is willing to walk away from a bad deal. That's something every American who's bought a used car knows, but a lot of our professional diplomats don't know. So that's why it's different this time.
So, you know, we know that Japan has their objective, South Korea has their worries, and China has their objective. They have no interest in seeing that regime collapse. So, do you think the president walks out in June with a framework for a deal, or just the beginning of a series of talks?
Very hard to tell at this point, but I think you could have a framework, but really it depends on what North Korea is really up to. Again, if they really are sincere about coming in from the cold, and I think they are desperate for funds. We really have done a good job of cutting that off. But, you know, in the past, it's basically a cycle where they say they're going to disarm, they get a bunch of goodies from the U.S. and its allies, and then they never deliver the goods.
20 seconds. They have 3 of our guys there. We got to get them out. They don't need them. That will be an easy thing for them to do, will they?
You know, yes, I think that's likely. It would help if we have a confirmed chief diplomat, if the Senate would do its job and confirm Mike Pompeo so he could start negotiating for these people.
Unbelievable that it might not happen. They might have to go to the floor, and still that wouldn't be a layup by a guy that just got confirmed as CIA director who just got back from North Korea. Christian Witten, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, straight ahead. Ignore all the bad news about illegals. Just ask California Governor Jerry Brown.
I think Fox News exploits this issue. We have criminals that do horrible things all the time.
Guess what, Mr. Governor? Jamil Shaw disagrees. His son murdered by an illegal immigrant in your California. He joins us live next with a message for you. Caught me on the stairs, so I'll read headlines. New York is pardoning criminals to get them to the polls. Get this, a new executive order from Governor Andrew Cuomo, who happens to be a Democrat, allowing 35,000 felons who have not finished parole to vote. It's a blatant sidestep of state law that bars paroled felons from casting ballots. Cuomo says it's unconscionable to deny the rights to former prisoners. All of a sudden, I added that. Speculation from Attorney General Eric Holder's plans for 2020 heating up with the announcement he could be speaking at New Hampshire. He'll be doing that. Why would you go to New Hampshire? Well, because there's the Politics and Eggs breakfast in June. Well, candidates eyeing the Oval Office attend the event, including President Trump in 2015. The breakfast is free. They make it for you. Stephen Ainsley?
That's great.
Thanks,
Thank you, Brian. Meanwhile, as California's governor deploys 400 National Guard troops throughout the state, Democrat Jerry Brown says the idea that sanctuary laws in his state protect illegal aliens over the rights of citizens is #fake news.
I think Fox News exploits this issue. We have criminals that do horrible things all the time. Which ones may be documented, which ones aren't, I'll be glad to look at that. I think to scapegoat the immigrants by these very biased stories, I don't think... look,
with all due respect, you have more than a dozen communities...
With all due respect, I want to protect people. And for you to say that we don't care about victims is really a calumny.
Well, 17-year-old Jamil Shaw, who you see there, a football player at L.A. High School. The second was shot, or I'm sorry, his name is Jamil Shaw Jr., the second. He was shot and killed by an illegal immigrant in Los Angeles in 2008. His father, Jamil Shaw Sr., joins us now with reaction to Governor Brown's comments. You were on our mind yesterday when we saw those comments and Griff approaching him. What were your thoughts when you heard your governor say that after you lost your son to an illegal immigrant?
You know, you could just see the anger in his heart, Dad, because Griff just came at him just normal. He wasn't even upset. And just the way he jumped on him like that, you know, like he just doesn't even care about the victims, like we're just dead bodies or a piece of trash in the cemetery. And then he's defending these legal alien gangbangers and criminals and hold them up like they're good people, knowing they, from day one, they broke into the country, and then they just pillage the communities. No one does anything. He's turned the LAPD and the LA County Sheriffs into nothing. You know, the way he does the National Guard, that's how the LAPD and Sheriff Department is. They just show up, no one does nothing. They drive by these gangbangers, don't even care.
Well, and now your state is a sanctuary state. I know there are localities in Southern California that are saying we got to opt out of that, and it's a whole bunch of cities and counties as well. The number is growing. But Jamil, when the governor said, "I want to protect people," you know what? Where was the protection for your son?
Yeah, and then, you know, I remember in 2009 we had an event in the Rose Hill Cemetery. It was a memorial for people murdered, homicide victims. And Jerry Brown was there, and I was there, and I spoke, and I stood right in front of him and made sure we got eye contact the whole time. And you could just see he didn't give a damn. You know, when I got through speaking, he spoke. He didn't even talk to me. He acted like he didn't even care. He just looked at me in my face like, nobody cares. You know, we're in a cemetery, standing on graves, you know, and he just was there trying to get votes, and he's just there trying to get votes for Kamala Harris and Becerra and Kevin De Leon. You know, they're just full of it, all of them.
You know, one death is too many, and I can't imagine your grief and what you're going through. I think it's every parent's worst fear and nightmare. The guy who killed your son, he was convicted of first-degree murder and then sentenced to the death penalty. But before, he had several arrests on his rap sheet, including gun charges and an assault on a police officer. If ICE had been called and he had been sent back to his country, would your son be alive today?
Of course. I mean, it's 100%. Even before the last gun charge, he already had 3. And then you hear California talking that craziness about banning guns, and they have illegal aliens just roaming the communities with guns, just shooting everybody up. Memorials all over the city. Herb Weston, the city councilman in my district, he does nothing. Maxine Waters, nothing. No one does nothing because they think it won't happen to them. I guarantee you, if it's one of their childs or their grandkid, they'll be raising hell like everybody else. Sure. We love our kids too.
Have you ever thought about leaving California?
Yeah, but I feel like I'm stuck here now. But I had my other son. He's 19. Yeah. He's gone. He went to Texas and with his mother in Fort Hood, Texas. Right. He's graduated high school. He's in college. Now he's got a chance to play in the Canadian Football League. I mean,
That's
just
great.
leaving here. He's alive. You know, I mean, 19 years old. I feel like I won the lottery because my son made it to 18.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I tell you what,
that's just crazy.
Jamil, you're still living there. Talk directly, look at the camera, and what do you want to say to Jerry Brown about his sanctuary state?
Every person who's died is your fault. You, Kevin De Leon, all you left-wing nuts, legal alien lovers who don't care about our family. We go to the cemetery to see our family. We have pictures. We kiss pictures. What do? If your grandchild or your daughter's child or anybody like that you know, what would you do, Jerry Brown? What would you expect the governor to do for you? See, that's how we live every day. We have to have memories. That's all we have is memories or what could have been. And then he's here to protect us. You're not here for illegal aliens. We put you in office, and you're here to protect us.
Let's see what he does. All right, Jamil Shah, who lost his son to an illegal in this country. Jamil, thank you very much for joining us from Los Angeles.
So early.
Thank you. God bless you, too.
Right, it's 3:30 in Los Angeles. He got up He probably didn't sleep last night because he knew that his message was so powerful because he has lost a child to exactly what we're talking about, and he wanted to be on television.
Doesn't want this to happen to another family.
Who does? Let us know what you think. Friends at FoxNews.com. Meanwhile, that same type of engine, airplane engine that exploded midair on that Southwest jet, takes off every 2 seconds. And that's not the only disturbing fact we have learned about that kind of motor.
Okay, plus President Trump, he did tee off with Japan's prime minister. You lost the bet, Brian. And that means it's time for Brian to pay up. It is the end of an era. For the first time in nearly 60 years, Cuba will no longer be led by Castro.
And the crowd, the crowd roars on that. Later today, Raul plans to step down as president. He's just 85. So what does new leadership look like? And what does it mean for us here in the United States of America?
Meanwhile, Steve Harrigan is live in Cuba, breaking it all down. Steve, tell us about Cuba's new leader.
Steve, not a lot of surprises in your typical Cuban election, and this is like no other. Basically, they've nominated one man to become president, so we pretty much know who it's going to be. The 605 people in the National Assembly also all ran there to get unopposed. So basically, you're having a situation we know what the results are going to be in advance. About 2 hours from now, we're likely to hear the announcement that the new president of Cuba is Miguel Diaz-Canel. He is 57 years old. He's been a Communist Party bureaucrat for the past 30 years. It's important, it's symbolic. It's the first time really in 60 years that we haven't had a Castro in charge here. 50 years of Fidel and then 10 years of Raul. It's also a new generation. We're going from an 86-year-old to a 57-year-old. But this is a guy who's spoken out for censorship of the internet. He has attacked small private businesses here in Cuba on the ground. So it's really a big question, what, if anything, is going to change? This new president is going to have some real challenges immediately. He's got a cratering economy. Most people still work for the state. They make about $30 a month in a near worthless currency. And he's got bad relations with the U.S. Remember, back in September, about 24 U.S. diplomats were injured by some unexplained sonic attack. That means the embassy staff here has been slashed. And it's really a question mark. The bad economy with bad relations with the U.S. and with Raul Castro still looking over his shoulder, what is this new president going to do? And the bigger question, how patient are the Cuban people going to be with this relatively unknown leader? Back to you guys.
All right, Steve Harrigan on a rooftop in downtown Havana. Thank you very much.
And there's questions about who did the sonic attack, because there's a lot of nations, like maybe Russia, that doesn't want us there. So there's a lot of investigation still needs to be done.
But ultimately, it sounds like new person in charge, but still the same old Cuba.
Unbelievable that anyone would do that to someone else.
Well, yes, there's a lot of things going on in Cuba that I cannot believe.
All right, let's hand it over to Jillian, who has some more headlines for us. Hey, Jillian. That's our good Thursday morning to you guys, to you at home as well. Let's get you caught up on some of the other stories that we're following. With this scary fact, the engine that caused a deadly explosion on a Southwest plane takes off every 2 seconds. More than 2,400 planes with that specific engine are in the air at any given time. And we are hearing for the first time from the plane's heroic pilot, Tammy Jo Schultz, releasing a statement saying, quote, "We all feel we were simply doing our jobs." Schultz also mourning the loss of passenger Jennifer Reardon, saying, quote, "Our hearts are heavy. We all reflect on one family's profound loss." The retired registered school nurse who tried to save Reardon's life will join us at 7:21 this morning. Stay tuned for that. A police officer says divine intervention saved his life. Just look at this brand new dash cam video showing the officer nearly blown away when a home explodes in Texas. If he got there any earlier, he may have died. Officer Travis Heiser investigating after an unlicensed driver who slammed into a home and hit a gas line. The officer and everyone inside the home survived. One woman is still in the hospital. Incredible images. A liberal professor who thought she couldn't be fired after unleashing disrespectful tweets about Barbara Bush is now in the hot seat. Rhonda Gerard is her name, of Fresno State University, calling the former First Lady an amazing racist just hours after her death. She followed up by saying she's glad, quote, "the witch is dead." Gerard then bragging she couldn't be fired because she's tenured. The school says tenure isn't blanket protection. The incident is now under review. All right, now to a very important story. Do you remember when Brian and Steve bet Griff Jenkins that the president wouldn't hit the links with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe?
how much you want to bet that there's no golf?
I'll take that bet.
How much you want to bet?
I will
$5.
bet you.
$5.
I will bet you $5 easily that they hit the links.
Abe loves to go.
I'll make it. Actually, the bet was more like $100 to your charity of choice, right? Well, looks like it's time for Brian to pay up. President Trump tweeting out this picture with Abe at Trump International Golf Club. We actually all got in on this bet. When I saw that picture yesterday, I was like, yes, Brian lost.
I did not think they would have time to play golf.
What? Are you
My
kidding?
sources said they weren't going to play golf.
So where's the
Abe
money?
loves golf. The president owns golf courses in southern Florida.
Where's the money,
Golf
Brian?
up the cat.
So we have that on tape.
Okay. I'm going to pay up because you guys, I only saw a picture of them having said they were going to golf. I don't see any footage, but I'm going to pay.
There's footage.
There you go.
Thank
$5. Here you go.
Okay, but I wish
Were
we
you
had
giving
tape.
me back the money that I gave you earlier?
I was going to say, I wish we had tape of the commercial break when
Right.
Brian found out he was going to have to pay up and borrowed money from everyone.
I get money too?
Hey, Janice, this is for not taking their side.
That's
You
my
get 10.
money.
What is that, $1?
That's
$10.
I gave her a 10.
You won the bet and you gave her
A
more
10
money?
for not turning on me like all you
So
did.
now you owe Brian
All right.
And now the judge
And
wants
Judge,
money.
legally, I owe the judge $5 just because he doesn't want a defamation suit.
Can I, in full disclosure, Brian asked us a couple minutes ago in the break for money. This is our money, right?
Wait a
That's what I
second.
said. That's what I said.
He said, who had change for 20? I gave him change for 20.
Thank you.
And then you walked over with just a wad
ones.
of dough. And now he gave you your money back. Actually, Jillian, I believe he gave you less money than he gave.
Where are the
How much
rest
did
of
you
my
give
money?
him? How much
Can
did
the
you give him?
people at home at least think I paid you?
Hi.
You know what I mean?
Hi.
It's unbelievable.
Can I do the weather?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Come on over
let's do
here.
that.
Apologize.
We need to
Thank you for
disclose.
this. Thank you for this.
Sure.
I'm buying coffee this morning, everybody. Tip your waitress. All right, let's take a look at the temperatures here. It's still cold. In some cases across the northern plains, the coldest April on record. Okay, so that's how cold it is. 27 in Minneapolis, 34 in Chicago. Yes, more snow in the forecast, but listen, this might be the last shot of snow of the season, okay? My fingers are crossed, but here it is across the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, in towards the northeast. Just nuisance snow. I love doing a forecast with money in my hand. It's fantastic. It just makes it even better. Again, not a big storm system, but it is going to bring a little bit of snow across the mountains, the interior northeast, and mainly rain along the coastal areas. Then we look across the west and the southwest, where we've been dealing with high fire danger. That's going to be ongoing today, but we'll get a little bit of relief in terms of mountain snow and rain in the forecast for the areas that are under, red flag warning. So that is the good news. And the good news is you guys never come up to me and say, as a greeting, I hate this weather.
Right. Like someone else did today.
Somebody else yesterday on the 17th floor. Someone came up. I hadn't seen this person in a long time. And instead of good morning, it was like, I hate this weather.
Well, you know
Your
what?
fault.
Yesterday's weather was hateable.
It was hateable.
But you can't hate. You
But we
cannot
love you.
hate Janice.
But you could pay. I mean, you could pay me.
For $10, she'll love you.
If I pay you, will you make it nice for the next few days?
You know what? Next week, I might be making some money.
Okay, good.
All right?
All right. JD, thank you very much for the Foxcast.
All right. 18 minutes out before the top of the hour. The White House making a full court press to get Mike Pompeo confirmed as Secretary of State after a secret meeting with Kim Jong-un. Why one lawmaker says there's no good reason to vote against him. By the way, most people say that.
Plus, several Obama administration members could be investigated by the Department of Justice, but Judge Napolitano says the focus should be on Hillary Clinton. The judge is coming up. He's next on Fox and Friends, where we'll give you a 5 if you're right.
Oh, the secret's probably.
The Florida Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis on Fox and Friends yesterday demanding the DOJ investigate several Obama-era officials, including Hillary Clinton, for her campaign's handling of payments to Fusion GPS.
They effectively disguised the fact that they were funding the dossier. That's not the way the federal election laws are supposed to work. You're supposed to disclose your expenditures. So if you're going after Cohen, why isn't anybody also looking at how the Clintons handled this?
Wow, Judge Andrew Napolitano says the DOJ should be focusing on Hillary's emails. He joins us right now.
I don't disagree with, good morning, guys. I don't disagree with what Congressman DeSantis said, and I have a lot of respect for him. He's talking about money laundering. Instead of telling the Federal Election Commission we paid Chris Steele to write this dossier, it says we paid our law firm a few $100,000, and doesn't say what the law firm did with it. They paid Chris Steele. He is upset, and rightly so, that the FEC doesn't know about it and he wants it investigated. But when office holders who are politicians refer to the FBI what they say is evidence of crimes, the FBI will take it seriously, but with a little bit of skepticism because they believe there's a political motivation behind it. I haven't seen these actual referrals, which are reduced to writing, but it's not the same as if Bob Mueller refers something to the federal prosecutors in New York. Right. It's taken a lot more seriously.
Sure, so it's one thing to go after Comey and McCabe and Lynch, but then again, this Attorney General still has the opportunity, if he so chose, to go after Hillary Clinton.
Yes, he does, and I wish he would, for several reasons. The evidence of Mrs. Clinton's guilt of espionage, failure to safeguard state secrets, that's the 22 or 23 top secret pieces of information that were on her private server.
This is a big deal.
The failure to do that, the evidence of guilt is overwhelming. The statute of limitations is 10 years. It hasn't run. The reasons she wasn't prosecuted have been shot through by Jim Comey's own words in the past 2 weeks as a political reason rather than a law enforcement.
Why doesn't Jeff Sessions do it?
You're asking the wrong person, because I've been asking the Attorney General to do this for months, and I wish he would. The countervailing argument is we're not a banana republic. The victor, Donald Trump, doesn't put the loser, Hillary Clinton, in jail. Flip side of that argument is there's evidence of serious felonies in her part. She shouldn't be immune from prosecution because she ran for president and lost, or because her last name is Clinton.
Some fascinating scenario here, too. Not only are these people upset with James Comey and what he's saying, and Trey Gowdy calling him out by what he wrote, but you have Andy McCabe's lawyer blowing back at James Comey for accusing him or agreeing with the IG report about him lying.
2 days ago, I sat here and we were talking about whether Comey's tour would impair his effectiveness with Bob Mueller. Well, Comey's tour is apparently impairing his effectiveness with other friends and former friends of his as well. And the tour's only been going on for 4 days. What are they saying? They're dispatching their lawyers, like McCabe did, to challenge Comey, his former #2 person and consigliere. I mean that with a lowercase.
But he called him a liar, basically, on The View yesterday, and McCabe blew back at him.
Will this sell books? Mr. Book Salesman?
I don't know. I have no idea if it's to sell books, but it's definitely bringing a lot of scrutiny on a guy that nobody likes.
It is the James Comey bus tour because he's throwing people under the bus, left and right.
Prediction on Hillary?
Okay.
Justice Department will not seek her indictment.
All right.
Contrary to all reason.
We already know that.
Thank you.
Yes.
We've seen that
You
before.
don't need me to predict it.
Thank you. What's the biggest problem facing our kids these days? Our next guest, a U.S. Army veteran, says it's a lack of home training. What exactly does that mean? His message for you, a parent, coming up next.
Plus, we're learning more about the passengers who tried to save that woman's life on that Southwest jet where the window blew in, including a retired nurse who performed CPR on her for more than 20 minutes. She will tell her personal story about that day coming up.
These kids now, I don't think they have role models. Nobody's having dinner together anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody's having prayer together anymore. Nobody's having some Bible study. Nobody's going outside playing kickball or baseball. Ain't got no home training.
CRTV's Rant Nation arguing the problem with kids today is a lack of what he referred to as home training and blames parents.
I love that. What a great clip. I could watch that all day. U.S. Army veteran Graham Allen hosts that show. You saw him there. You had a T-shirt on with all your tattoos showing. I got to watch this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
He's a well-spoken redneck man, isn't he?
I love him. It's so true, isn't it?
It is very true. And that's one of the biggest things why we're glad to bring Rant Nation to CRTV is because, unfortunately, it seems like to talk about the fact that your kids being off the chain might be the parents' fault seems to be this huge issue on mainstream media. And one of my biggest things that people say to me all the time is, Graham, there's no such thing as a bad kid. All right, fine. Well, if there's no such thing as a bad kid, well, then that means that there are bad parents. And there's this huge breakdown. And that's what we really want to talk about on the show.
For whatever reason, there are a lot of parents who don't want to discipline their kid. They want to be their kid's best friend.
Well, the quickest way to go to the DSS line now is to discipline your child, right? I mean, we can't do that. Like Matt said, child services, all the above. Like Matt says in the video, there is a huge breakdown in the way that family structure is actually supposed to be. We've got we've got kids having kids now. And what I mean by that is, we have people parents that are more concerned about their own social medias, about posting their own things, becoming famous on their own. They're not paying attention to their children. They're not being parents. And what being a parent actually means is that your kids aren't always going to like you all the time, because that's not your job. Your job as a parent is to be a parent, to train your child.
So did we have it right in the 70s? Did we have it right in the 60s? I mean, do we have it right in the 50s?
I think to say having it right is a very, I said this last time, very slippery slope, because you're never going to get it right. I'm a parent. I have 3 kids. I mess up daily. I fail my children daily.
But you learn from the mistakes?
You learn from the mistakes, and most importantly, you don't worry about what your public perception is going to be and worry about what other people are paying.
You'd say it all comes down to the smartphone.
Well, that little black box. I was hanging out with Phil Robertson down in Louisiana the other day, and one of his favorite things to say is that little black box gets more people in trouble because we're so concerned about what's going on with the phone that we're not paying attention to what our kids do.
Check out Rant Nation over on CRTV.
What time's it on,
Thank
Graham?
you very much.
Well, it's a streaming service, so we drop a new episode every Thursday, Rant Nation on CRTV.
Great.
All right,
God bless
thanks,
you.
Greg. Meanwhile,
God
we
bless
come
you.
back,
Thank you.
the latest on the Kim Jong-un talks that we didn't know about.